Right after it came on, we had like 260 views right out of the box.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Welcome, 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 everybody, to another
Me and my
episode.
handsomeness got like 50 of them by myself.
Oh, here he go. See how they do? We trying to come live, and he talking about how handsome he is. Everybody, we can't even start the show right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us
Uh,
again. I got my partners here, Sean and Kyle. How y'all feeling tonight?
Man, outstanding.
great,
Outstanding.
great.
Let's rock and roll.
I
Feeling
love
good.
it. So, for the people, I don't know what's going on. My internet has went out once or twice. So if I disappear, my partner's gonna keep it going, and I will join y'all back on the phone until the internet is stable. But we know how technology can be. It's just you can't control it. You just have to be ready to pivot. There's a particular topic that I want to talk about tonight, and it stems from a lot of the conversations that I've been having all week, where I realized that most entrepreneurs, small business owners, they don't understand or they're not thinking about what it means to be exit ready. They are, and my coach and I were talking about it today. A lot of people build lifestyle businesses. And so a lifestyle business is a business that exists solely to pay your bills and give you a specific lifestyle. It's not really built to bring on a lot of team members and pay their bills and pay their salaries. And it's not really built for you to scale and expand. It's just built for you. And whenever you get tired of doing the work and showing up day to day, you stop working and then it's over. There's no money that keeps coming in. If you're not there, the business doesn't operate. That's a lifestyle business.
Hmm.
What we want to help you understand is how to become exit ready and what that means. Because again, we want you to shift your mindset completely from being an owner operator, a CEO. We want you to start thinking like an investor, which means the business that you started is an asset that is a part of your entire portfolio in your life. It's just like your car. It's just, well, your car is a liability, but it's just another asset or piece of your entire portfolio. And I want you to start thinking about what it means to be exit ready. So we're going to go through a few things that I have on my mind about being exit ready, and then I'll let Sean and Kyle jump in as well, and we'll roundtable this thing like we do all the time. So my very first thing, and I covered it just a little bit just now. My very first thing when I think about being exit ready is actually thinking about being exit ready. And so I mentioned thinking like an investor. What does that mean beyond it being an asset? It means you are looking at the business as something that generates revenue and profits. You are looking at the business for its systems, its processes. You are looking at the business and trying to figure out how can I grow this thing as large as possible and position it to be attractive to someone else. So a lot of times when we buy our first homes or we start our first business or we get in our first cars, it's about us. We want to love it. We want it to be our baby. We want to nurture it and take care of it. But as an investor, you're not necessarily in love with the business. You're definitely not in love with the day to day. And you could probably care less about a lot of things that go on. What you care about is this asset producing? So my number one thing when thinking about is my business exit ready is am I thinking about it in my mind to prepare it to be? So Sean, Kyle, one of you guys jump in. Let me know what you guys think about that and when exit ready because we were talking about before you guys joined them selling a business years ago, and they it was exit ready. So talk to me a little bit about what exit ready means to you.
One thing my partner always says, or Cal always says, because I have two partners, but one thing Cal always says is, um, you want to have a number that you're going to sell your business at. You always want to have a number. So he'll literally get on the call. He'll say, "So what's your number?" And basically, what it means by that is, what is the number that you feel comfortable with to sell your business? Because again, what you do is what a lot of people do, right? They make businesses and they create the businesses to sell it. My philosophy is pretty much the same, but what I like to see businesses do is is go to that next level and to go public because obviously if you have a publicly traded company and you're selling it after you go public, you're selling it off, let's say to Microsoft or whatever, then you're they're going to give you more money for your company because it is publicly trading, right? And you always we said it before on previous podcasts that a private company gets maybe 3 to 5 times EBITDA, maybe six, and a publicly traded company gets anywhere between 10 to 18 times, depends on the industry. So um, you always want to have a number, but you want to. My belief is you want to take your company public first.
Yeah, it's funny, times when you were talking, one of the things that I was writing down on my notes here, and you actually said it, I said, don't fall in love with it. So when you have a company, most of the time, think about it. We always tell people, hey, look, everybody's got the prettiest baby. And when you think about your babies, you fall in love with them. So you can't fall in love with a business. It's just that. It's business. Don't take it personal. But a lot of times, and I hate to say it, we as a people, you know, we stepped out on faith. We put our life savings into it. It's our 401k plan. We did it. And so you end up falling in love with it. And I always believe it's because of the resources that you came to or came with to get that started. So it's not just your business, but it's you pouring your heart into it. So you're going to fall in love with it. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, that's not a way to do business. You know what I mean? If you do business, like Sean just said, you have investors and they invest in it. Well, you know, with an investor, they're coming to buy it. And if they want it, all right, I got a price you got to hit. For instance, people call me up every day about my house. And I don't want to sell.
Mm,
You know what I mean? But all right, if you're going to take it from me, I got a number. It's $1 million. Now, whether they give it to me or not, I'm asking for it. But guess what? If you buy my house, you're going to pay it off. And Lisa and I, we're going to go on a couple cruises for a little bit. And then we're going to buy some townhouse downtown.
But you kind of making it hard for them though, Kyle, because you said you want $1 million all 20s.
right. so so let me ask you this question then, Sean. You mentioned it, and let's go a little bit deeper. So you say, and Kyle says you need to have a number. If I'm a new business owner and I'm coming in and I'm not really thinking about that, I'm trying to pay my bills now. What should my number be? Is this where I need to go back in my vision and really cast it for the next 30, 40 years to determine what I need to be comfortable at to live?
Yeah, the thing about it is, first and foremost, with a lot of businesses, if you're a new business, right, um, and the business potentially could be a multi-million-dollar business, you want to start thinking about how to raise capital and how to get investment dollars in, because that's where you're going to get the maximum growth for your business, right? Now, if you're using your own capital, that most likely, a lot of the times that number, that your buyout number is going to be unachievable, because what people tend to do, right, is they'll say, well, I want $5 million for my business, right? But they're putting their own capital in. And again, I always say this, it's hard to like, it's hard to sell a gadget, 5 million times in order to make $5 million. That's difficult, right? What most companies do is they acquire other companies, right? And then that's what gives them the higher valuation, right? It's not necessarily about selling a billion things just to get $1 million, right? So it just depends on whether or not you are doing investors or not, right? If you're doing investors, most likely you're going to want the same type of payout the company that's doing investors want. Does that make sense? So, for
Hmm.
example, I might say $5 million and I'm putting my 401k into it. But a guy who's getting investment dollars in, he wants $5 million, but he's getting that investment dollars, and so he can achieve it a lot better. So that's what I'm saying. So I think you got to be realistic, especially if your company is private. But if you're raising investment dollars, you can look at, and it depends on how much the dollars is coming in and how good your game plan is. But you can look at the industry, your competitors in the industry, and look at what they're going for. Do evaluations on them. And sometimes if you can get half as right, half as good, that's sufficient for a lot of companies. I mean, you might not get a $5 billion valuation from like Amazon, or excuse me, like Uber, but maybe you might get $100 million. You know,
Yeah, I think that's a good point too. Part of being exit ready is understanding these business systems and things that are already set in place. So businesses get value. I bet I could probably ask all of it. If I go back and talk to every business owner that I ever talked to, I would say 90% of them probably never had their business valued. And they probably don't even know. And I know it for a fact because when I'm on panels and when I'm having these conversations with owners every day, they don't even know who to go to get a business valuation. No connection, no attorneys, no M&A people in their background, no broker dealers. Like there's just nobody even helping them get exit ready. I've had the case of a lot of people that I've worked with, that I've spoken with, they don't have financial advisors. So their personal finance, they don't even have a person from that angle to tell them your business is an asset. And I was talking to my coach today and I was telling him, about the program we was talking about building together and mapping out. And I told him, because he was telling me that whenever I go on a panel with him and people come back and talk to him, they say that I'm able to break it down so simple for them and make it hit home. And I said, because I've sat in that seat. I was the business owner that shut a business down that I could have sold because I had nobody to tell me, Tyrus, it is exit ready because you put the systems, the processes, you have clients, you have monthly recurring revenue. It doesn't operate with you in the day to day. You have a team that does the work. Your business is exit ready. I had nobody to tell me that. And so I just shut it down. I had nobody to tell me that you could sell it. None of that. So I understand exactly the pain point that our audience is in, that they don't even know they're in because they're not even thinking about it. They're just trying to pay the next bill, get the next client, get the next revenue coming in. Like the mindset is so limited. And so how do we even getting on podcasts like this is one way. But if you don't know what you don't know, how do you begin to know? I'll throw that up to either one of y'all.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I just wanted to kind of key in on what you were talking about. One of my other favorite shows besides American Greed is I love to watch the History Channel, and I like to watch the stories that they talk about. The companies that built America. And there's one particular one that I love to talk about because it kind of deals with Mar-a-Lago. But however, um, the lady that owned Mar-a-Lago before the guy that's there now, her name was Post. And she was the daughter of C.W. Post. He wanted a son, but he never had a son. So he taught his daughter everything about Post. If you don't know who C.W. Post is, he's the guy that created Post cereal, but Post cereal and Post brands and everything else. Well, what happened is the whole story about Post is just amazing and phenomenal, and how he became a multi millionaire. But his daughter, she took over the company and she took the company to a whole new level. And she got a chance to meet a guy, and on the spot, his name was Clarence Birdseye. So if you heard of Birdseye, you know what I'm talking about, right? The frozen fruits. Clarence
Hmm.
Birdseye literally created the frozen foods market. At that time, there was no such thing, and she heard about what he was doing about freezing foods. He could freeze anything, food, vegetables, fruits, whatever. So she walked in to his establishment where he was at working, and she said to him, "How much?" for the company. Right there. Again, what'd you say? Exit ready. He had no clue on the spot. That was his opportunity. And so guess what happened? He turned around and gave her a number. And when he gave her a number, she said, okay. And then he said, for 75%. And she said, I don't buy 75% of anything. How much for the other 25? He wasn't ready.
Wow.
And so when he wasn't ready, he turned around and he just gave her a number. She said, that's it? He said, yes. She said, okay. All right, I'll have my lawyers write up the paperwork. And then after that, guess what happened? She said, you'll stay on. You're going to be the CEO. You'll run the company. And you'll basically have a salary. And he got paid. But guess what? He wasn't ready, but he still ended up in a good situation.
Mm-hmm.
So think about it. If a person like Clarence Birdseye, and think about this, like you said, how do you make your mind up? How do you think about something that you're not even ready for? He had no clue. They weren't even selling his stuff. He had boxes and boxes and boxes of things that were in the freezer because they couldn't sell his frozen products. Why? Because there was no such thing as freezers in stores at the time. They literally created it, but he sold right there. So think about it. Was it too low? Was it not enough? Even though he became a multimillionaire in a matter of seconds? But like you said, exit ready. So I always like to tell that story. And then the second story I like to tell is Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban was exit ready
Yeah.
every time. People don't even know that he didn't start off owning the Dallas Mavericks. He had a company called Broadcom, and guess what? It was an internet company that did radio, and they came and boom, he sold it. Once he sold it, turned around, became a multi-billionaire. Next thing you know, bought the Dallas Mavericks. Guess what happened? He saw something else going on, jumped into real estate. People don't probably don't realize this. Jumped into real estate in Texas because of all that stuff Jerry Jones and them were doing over there. And he turned around and sold the Dallas Mavericks. Still owns a small portion of it, but every time Mark Cuban is what? He's exit ready. The difference of two stories, two parallels. But and this is the last thing I'll say about this is that I believe every business is meant to be sold. You just got to know what your number is.
Now, do you? And I don't want to put you and Sean against each other. I think y'all are on the same wavelength. Now, Sean wants you to go public first, then sell. Are
Oh,
you? You want to go public first and then sell as well?
most definitely, yeah. You got to go for the ride because, again, think about it. If you sell and you're a private company, like you said, the EBITDA, based on your EBITDA, so why not go public? And see, this is what people understand. They think they're getting more money because they're publicly traded. You are getting more money, but it's not really because you're publicly traded. The reason why you're getting more money is because of the shares that you own of the public traded company. So when they buy you, they can't buy you and then you leave with all these millions and millions of shares. They say, oh, before you leave, go ahead and sign over them shares too. That's part of the cost of buying you out. So that's the part that we really don't talk to people and tell them about. Yeah, you're not just selling your company. You think about it. If you bought Amazon, you think that you ain't also gonna get that 1% or what is it, that nine
Right.
percent that Jeff Bezos owns? And how much is that worth, Sean? 9%.
It had 9 billion, something like that, 20 billion, 200 billion, or something crazy.
You think that they just gonna let Jeff Bezos keep that 9%, but we're gonna give the rest of your company? No, that's where the money is at. So that's why you do that, and that's why we tell everybody, please, 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 take your company public. Can we do that?
Okay. I want to go deeper into the going public because it is raising some things in my mind. But I want to give this to the people because we said that we wanted to be exit ready. Here's how you can be exit ready. So I'm gonna give y'all this so we can move on to the next conversation. Here's how you need to be exit ready. Number one, you need to think like an investor and think about your business as something that you're going to sell eventually. It's not your baby. You're not raising it. You don't have to be in love with it. I get it. We're told that you passionate and you want to be passionate about what you do. Well, be passionate about owning an asset, knowing that you're going to sell it.
Mhm.
Number two, it needs to run without you. Now, you may be in the day to day in the beginning, but as you grow, start, grow, and scale. As you grow, you want to start replacing yourself and delegating. So you Delegate to elevate. Number 3, you want to have monthly recurring revenue in the business, because when you go and get your valuation, that is what they're going to look at. And there's also a part in there where you are valued higher for monthly recurring revenue rather than big projects. So you might make 20 grand during Halloween and then have a slow next couple of months. Investors don't like that. They want to see consistent cash flow. So monthly recurring revenue. Then you want to have your marketing system in place. How are you generating leads? Constantly. Then you want to have a sales process in place. How are you closing those leads? Then you want to make sure that as you can bring them in, attract them, close them, that you can actually fulfill. So your fulfillment process needs to be in place. And then lastly, you need to have your customer service feedback loop system in place, meaning I am constantly improving my products and my service because I am constantly talking to my clients and my customers, whether it's automated or not automated, but we are getting feedback and reviews so we can continue to innovate and do better and make our customers and keep them happy. That is what makes your exit ready business. All those components, and you just add on to them as you grow. And through the growth phase, you want to become effective. Effective. A lot of people talk about they want to be efficient. You can't be efficient without being effective, because you can make something that's bad for your business efficient, and it will drive you in the negative. So you want to get effective first, then you become efficient. Now that we know how to exit, I want to go back to taking the company public. Talk to me and I would take some real world examples. Because when I think about personally, I'm going to give it my personal view. When I think about publicly traded companies, I think about your Amazons. I think about your Ubers. I think about tech companies. I think about big food brands. So if I'm a small business, how can I even start to think about going public? How do I compete on the public exchanges? Can any business go public? Or should it be a specific industry that's thinking about going public? Those are my thoughts, and I know that's the thoughts of the people.
You know, any business could go public, right? It just what but obviously it has to make sense. You don't want to be doing. You don't want to have a mom and pop shop thinking about going public. Right now, you got to build that business up. So, if you have something that you think that can make a difference, and I mean, especially if you want this thing to grow and be big, if you think it can make a difference in the world or or with people, then it might be a good idea to take that company public. It might be a good idea to build that company up. I mean, you got companies that build up their revenues or their company to like billions of dollars, right? And then once they go public on the NASDAQ. So you just want to build your company up to where you can go to that next level, and you do that by investment dollars. See, the key is getting the investment dollars, right? That's the key. And if you can raise capital, then you're going to start acquiring companies, and how your business start may not be how you finish. So let's say you may start off doing, let's say, cleaning businesses, right? But then you evolve to manufacturing the products, the chemicals, and etc. Right? Now you're on a bigger market. Now you're getting contracts not only in the United States from all of the other cleaners and things of that nature, but overseas. So now you're like, okay, so I'm expanding. I can grow this business. Maybe there's another opportunity that I could kind of get into as well to expand my business even more. Those type of businesses are the type of businesses I was looking at that to go public, because they started off here on with just the cleaning, and they grew so much bigger um, on this side over here. So those type, I would say those type of companies as well. So it just depends on how your company, what your company is doing, where is it at, and how can you expand it.
Kyle, before you jump in, because I think you helped me right there, Sean, gave me a little breakthrough. I got a little breakthrough because, and you said it before, and this is for everybody that's listening. This is the part of hearing information over and over and over and over and over so it can sink in.
Mhm.
Because when I asked that question, I was thinking about, man, how can a small business starting out sell their way and grow large enough to even go public and compete? But you said it before, you said it again. It's the acquisitions of other companies in the same space or similar space that helps you expand. So it's not me taking my company that I started from the grassroots by itself, it's me evolving and
Of course.
capturing market share and building and then taking that conglomerate or whatever we want to call it public. Another thing you said that was very interesting that I didn't think about was the whole shifting from just cleaning to now manufacturing. And it's
Yeah.
funny because I talked to a lady yesterday that they do cleaning in medical facilities and buildings, and she was talking about how can she start to get the product and sell the product instead of buying it from who their vendor,
Right.
but how can they do the product themselves and sell that. And so yeah, that helped with for me to understand that it's not just your business. Now it's thinking through how do I bring in other key elements and components to continue to build it. So that makes a lot of
Right.
sense.
And let me say this real quick before Cal jump on. When we had our telecommunications company, right, we started out as a reseller, right? So basically, what we did was we resold somebody else's product. That wasn't good enough for us, right? So now we signed a deal with a major telecommunications company, and we had our own product now. So um, we started marking up. You know, they gave us the product at a certain cost, and then we put on our own price.
Hmm.
Um, but we understood the technology was changing, right? So we were still using rotary dials, handhelds back then. So Cal and I was like, man, these cell phones, these things are going to be taking off. So we looked and we signed a deal with one of the largest telecommunication cell phone companies in the world, right? We signed a deal. So now we have cell phones. Now look how we started off. We didn't start it off as a publicly traded company, right? With the resale, getting pennies for to sign people up, literally getting 2 cent commissions, right? But we evolved to having our own products, our own cell phones, our own customers, our own internet. Now all we have to do is expand and go into other states. And that's what we did. We took our company public. So we started off small over here, but we went on a totally different path with the cell phones that we was doing and selling them to our customers in the same industry. But instead of doing the calling people on the handheld, now we're doing wireless cell phones
Hmm.
and wireless internet. So that's the perfect example.
Go ahead, Kyle, jump in there.
I don't need to. Sean stole my thunder. No, but that just shows how long we've been together. That's exactly what I was getting ready to say. Because Sean talked about, basically acquiring mergers and acquisitions, and right, that's one way. But the other way is partnerships.
Yeah.
And it was a major partnership. But what you have to understand, especially all you guys that are out there, you at your company, you probably have some deals with some major companies. Well, what you're missing, the element that you could be missing, is the fact that you take partnerships along with press releases. Let me say that again. Partnerships along with press releases. You combine that together, you are missing a valuable component to help you expand your business and grow. And that's because a lot of times people don't know. You hear about press releases all the time, but people just look at Yahoo Financial, they look at MSNBC or whatever, or Squawk Box, but okay, they just see a press release, but they don't realize what that's used for. That's used to attract. more investors. And that's a tool that you have in your, arsenal, that if you're not using it, again, some people just don't know what they don't know.
It's just a. I'm just glad that I ran into you, that you ran into me,
I,
because
I ran very fast into you.
because I probably would still be on the long path, and I had some knowledge. Okay, I don't know how many people that's listening watch Shark Tank, because Shark Tank is what we're talking about in front of you every day. But I think most people don't even realize what's really happening up there. The components of what the deal is, how it helps the company, how that's a press release. They are private companies with private investors investing, but we still, I get on panels every night and people talk about getting funds from banks. They talk about business credit. They talk about all these things. And those aren't bad things to have, but they're not the end all be all to your business. And if you really, really want to grow, I think our most difficult challenge for us is to get to the people who actually want to build large businesses and not have side hustles and not have lifestyle businesses and not just doing it for social media. Because once you get on the other side of that, then you understand what are the components and the things I need to do in order to actually take a company public. Now, let's say this. If I take my company public and wherever I'm trading at, how does that change the way I think as a business owner? Who do I have to become to lead a publicly traded company?
I always say this, first of all, you have to be your number one you have to be your number one cheerleader, your company's number one cheerleader, right? Because listen, when we had our publicly traded company, you couldn't tell us nothing. We told everybody, right? And first of all, you got to run a tight ship as far as your bookkeepers and things of that nature, your accountants and stuff like that, and you got to have your PR firm and stuff like that to write up the press releases, or you can use a lawyer, or you can write it up if you know the format, right? But but you have to be your company's number one cheerleader, definitely, because and you got to. Another thing too is the investors are counting on you to achieve what you said you was going to achieve in your business plan, right? Because this is what they invested in, that business plan. So that's what you have to be. Company's number one cheerleader, company's number one uh, fundraiser, right? If you're still raising capital, because you got to be on the phone, you got to be doing interviews, you got to get your name out there, right? But you got to accomplish your business plan because that's what the investors are looking for. That's what they invested in. That's what they invested their hard-earned money for.
Yeah, I would say that's right. That's key. We share with everybody all the time. The investors are your bank. So that's why when I watch American Greed, I can't believe how these people would just treat these. There's some harsh people out there. You got to be cruel, especially on American Greed, the way you would treat your investors. Because think about it, these people gave their hard-earned money to your idea to help you push your agenda, your concept, whatever it is, your product forward. And if you don't take value in the fact that their hard-earned money, they could have put that anywhere else, some real estate deal, something else, Microsoft, whatever. But some people like startups. And when they like startups, matter of fact, not only do they like startups, some of them like penny stocks. And there's three different type of penny stock investors. So, when you get those individuals and all they're doing is just betting and gambling on somebody that's going to take off, like an
Hmm.
Amazon, like a Nestle. For those of you that don't know, we've talked about it a couple weeks ago on here, but Nestle's is still on the pink sheets. Nestle's. Nestle's was created back in 1870, something like that. And what, a chocolate company. And it's literally still on the pink sheets, OTC. It's not on NASDAQ. It's not on New York Stock Exchange. But what was, I don't forget, what was it showing? It was $85, $86
I
a
think it
share.
was $74 when I saw last time I saw it, 74.75.
A publicly traded company. So what difference does it make as long as you're publicly traded? and that's the key. But I just, please take care of the investors, because that literally is your bank. And one of the reasons why when we teach in our class, you know, I don't think people understand that when we tell them that's your bank. So think about when you tell somebody you can create your own bank. You don't have to get a charter. You don't have to try to have $3 million or try to set your own bank up. You can start your bank off with one investor. That's the beginning of your bank. You take care of that one investor. Now you get another one. Now you get another one. Now you get another. We happen to have 500 at the time we were doing. But just take care of your bank and you'll be okay. And it doesn't matter about your credit score. You don't need a PG. All right. All you need is some sizzle.
You know, it's funny. You know the numbers, Kyle, because I was actually looking at. I wonder what it takes to start a bank, and it was right around $3 million.
Yeah.
It was right around 3 million that you
Right.
need to start a bank because I'm always thinking big picture in the future, and I'm thinking similar to how Sean was saying. How can I create all the things and link them together? So I go from one thing to the next. I'm like, a bank would be something nice to have. And I
Yeah.
saw that number. It was like 3 million and some change. And then of course you got to go through the charter process and all these approvals and things like that. But that is funny. Another thing that, and I think Kyle, we got to get away from the get rich quick,
Hmm.
because you said something that was key. Your investors are your bank. And we don't think about it like that. But we do think about how can I get that life insurance and that infinite banking from my life whole life insurance, whatever that concept is. I can't even follow it. But
Yeah.
Right.
we'll jump right into that and try
Right.
to figure out how to use life insurance to be our bank.
Right.
So we gotta get away from get rich quick schemes to actually doing business the way it's supposed to be done.
Hmm.
That's
Right.
funny that you brought that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you
I'm gonna
do it
tell you.
right, if you run your business and you take it public and you do it right, it could be um, one of the greatest things that you can ever do. Right? It's not that many people that you know of that had a publicly traded company or or operated a publicly traded company. Right? But it's one of the most lucrative things that you can do. I mean, it's really the one of the only things that you can, you know, create a legacy with your grandkids, your grandkids, and pass money to them, pay for their college. These are, relatives that you don't even know. So it's definitely one of the most lucrative, but you just got to do it right
Yeah, another when you talk about
and
doing it
cheat the
right,
system.
right. And Kyle talks about the American greed. I had just shared with Sean and Kyle maybe a day or two ago that somebody got busted for running a Ponzi scheme, and I didn't even see on the picture that they had bought a $3.1 million yacht. I didn't even
Yeah,
see that till you said it.
Yeah. Estimated use of
that
proceeds.
that money, boy, you get all that money in, and you're just like, wow, that yacht looking mighty nice, but you can't do that stuff, man. You
And see, that's
cannot.
the key. It's discipline. See, and all of us, Sean and I was military. You're military. So
Yeah,
you understand this discipline. There's certain things that we were taught, not realizing that it would help us in our career.
yeah,
And most people, I remember I had a guy I was working with, and we were talking about going public, whatever. And I remember we'd be at a meeting, he'd show up late. And I'm like, what are you doing? If you're doing it like this with me, what's going to happen when we got investors sitting at the table? You're going to be
yeah,
late. I remember
yeah,
cutting hair in the middle of the day at the office. What are you doing? This is not a barber shop. Why are you cutting hair in the office? Suppose an
yeah,
investor comes in. What are you doing? You know what I mean? So, and I just remember I said, and then one day I said to him, I said, have you ever had a real job? He was like, no. I said, I understand. I see. And
yeah.
then so therefore, right, that just tells you right there, you're not going to be able to run a public traded company because
Right.
you got I's dotted, T's crossed.
Yeah, and it comes down to ethics as well, right?
Hmm.
All of us in our careers, whether it's being a broker or insurance or whatever, we've all had ethics training, right? And the training talks about this type of stuff, but you have a fiduciary responsibility to do what's right for that investor
Hmm.
because of your title, because you are the issuer. And that fiduciary responsibility isn't for you to buy you a house. It's to do what you say you're going to do with the investor's dollars.
Very good. As we get ready to start landing this plane, we talked about what it means to be an exit ready business, meaning, to Kyle's point, at any given moment, your opportunity may come. Are you ready? If somebody says, I want to buy your business today, are you ready? Can you give it over to them? Because what happens is, and I give it to you from a Shark Tank perspective, what we see on TV for those deals are minutes. Each person actually goes through about 30 to 45 minutes. That's the whole segment for each individual. So they're not on there for 3 minutes. They
Hmm.
actually go through more. Then when they get the deal, which is what we see on TV, or don't get the deal, but when they do get the deal, they have a due diligence period. They don't just get that money,
Right.
they have a due diligence period. And there are many, many people who never collect because they can't get through. They can talk a good game, but when those books get uncovered, they're not ready. So you have to be ready in your business at any given time. My coach does several programs with the counties and with the state of Maryland, that takes a business how to start, grow, and scale it, how to go from zero to $1 million. And one of the things he harps on the most is his cash flow worksheet. The books, really writing down how much income you're bringing in, what are your goals, how much you sell your product for. All of that's important. You have to have it together, because if an investor comes with an opportunity and you're not ready, then you've missed a chance. I won't say you missed your chance, because it may circle back around.
Hmm.
But E used to say all the time, you got to take the opportunity of a lifetime in the lifetime of the opportunity. Because the lifetime of the opportunity may be very small, and you have to be ready for it.
Yeah.
And a lot of us still play business. We
Yeah.
want to do it for the hype. We want to do it so people can know that we own a business. We want to do it so we can just, go on a vacation and say, I'm putting it on my business card. And, I wrote my whole vacation off. Like, I get it. Fun is a component of life. You want to have fun, and you should, but know when to do it, and stop trying to game the system. There's a difference. I'm going off on a tangent. Now I'm about to start. It's getting to my pain points of business when I talk to business owners. There's a part where let me see how I can put it. The business rules apply to everybody.
Hmm.
If you know how to navigate and play inside the rules, you will be successful. Stop trying to figure out how to break them.
Right.
We spend time trying to figure out how I can beat my taxes. But Jeff Bezos do it. Jeff Bezos is playing within the rules of the game.
Right.
He got all his CPAs and attorneys and bookkeepers and no telling how many other people sitting around figuring out, how do we get this man not to pay any taxes?
Right.
He's not figuring out trying to skate. Well, let me go and do a business trip and write it off on my auntie uncle card and say that we had a meeting, so we just gonna write the whole vacation off.
Right. Right.
They're not doing that. So stop. I look at Instagram all the time and I see all these people saying you can go get $150,000 worth of business credit and you do this with it and you get life insurance and you have your infinite banking, and I'm like, and you set up your trust and your estate and you had the estate own the trust and the trust own the LLC. Stop it. By the time you do that, and here's another thing, and I know you and Sean know this because you've been there. By the time, if you even do that properly, you're gonna pay 20, 30, $40,000 to set up something like that, to set it
Exactly.
up right.
Exactly.
Now you might get an attorney that just slaps some stuff together for you, and it ain't gonna be right, and it ain't gonna hold up. But if you really legitimately set those things up, you paying $20,000-$30,000 for that. It, y'all go ahead.
Well,
I can go all day.
no, it's funny you said because one of the things about that, what, and I hate to say it again, this is our people, but we always want the discount. I don't know where we got that from. We always want the discount. We always want the cheapest. And we're like, if you plan on making more money than you've ever seen in your life, that don't come cheap. So why would you get the cheapest thing that you need? I mean, if you want to get a good riding car, you're going to get a Mercedes Benz. You're going to get what? A Jaguar, whatever. You're going to get that, type of car, right? A Cadillac, whatever it may be. But you're not going to say, well, I want to get a good riding car and I want it to be a Ford Escort. You know what I mean? No, that's just going to be a car, transportation. So if you want to go public, or if you want to basically make sure you set your business up right, like you just said, somebody trying to beat taxes or whatever, so they're going to do all this kind of stuff right, and then guess what they're going to do? They're going to go to H&R Block. When somebody like Jeff Bezos has a bunch of people, he's paying a lot of money, and what you have to understand, he's paying them a bunch of money because the money that they're saving him is cheaper than what he's paying them. So in all actuality, it may seem cheap, it's just not cheaper than what he would have to spend. And that's what we have to understand in business. And I hate to say that, especially for our folks, but that's the key thing right there. I wrote this down too. Start with the end in mind. When you get your business together, start with the end in mind. And what happens is we're not prepared, unfortunately. And if you're not prepared, you're going to probably make a bad decision at some time or whatever. And then, therefore, you just got to do it again. But what I would say is that, do that first one. And that first one, make sure you do it right, sell it, take a couple weeks off, and then come back and do it again. That's the best model. You know what I mean? But you could be, we talked to one lady and she was, 20 years in the business, but just struggling for 20 years. And scratching my head like, wow, that's got to be a hard life to live. 20 years of struggling and just getting by in your own business. Wouldn't it have been easier to just take a job and get time off and take 2 weeks vacation and know what you're going to make at the end of the week so that you could live within those means?
Now
Yeah,
that's a fact.
I think another problem too.
Yeah, real quick, because I just want to say, if you get your own business and do that, what have you just done? You've created a job.
Yeah.
A low paying job.
A low job. Yeah, go ahead, Sean. Sorry about that.
No. It's fine. It's fine. I think another major problem is sometimes people just don't listen. You got business owners that want to do it one way. They want a certain end result, but they only want to do it one way. So, if you're doing something that you're not familiar with, you know, and you might have read something in a book, business is different, right? Everything you read in a book, sometimes you have to improvise, you know. So we come across a lot of people, hard-headed people in this business, that people that just don't want to, they just don't want to listen. You tell them to do B and they want to do J, So I just want to kind
Kyle,
of
you
say that.
said it's like I feel like you can't make this stuff up
Yeah,
because everything that you said, I'm literally having. Here's something for all business owners: just have conversations with other business owners every day.
yeah,
If you do that, you will see what we're saying is not. We're just getting up here making it up. Because I literally talked to a lady that said, "I've been in business for 40 years." Same thing,
Yeah.
but they're stuck at $700,000 a year for the last 15, 20 years. I'm like, what? How did you get stuck at the plateau and not seek more? Now, before y'all run off and be mad at me, there's a place for free programs. There's a place for that. But like Kyle said, and you might have to determine where you want to be. This goes back to your vision. I'm going to say this, and I'll put a number on because this is usually where it happens. When you make $10 million in revenue, you enter a different landscape of business. Kevin O'Leary said it on Shark Tank. He was like, when you hit 10, 20, 25, 50, it's different levels of business. It's just totally different. It's not the same. You have to become a whole different person. You have to have a different structure. Everything's different. In order to get there, you cannot continue going to free resources.
Right.
People want everything for free, but want to charge people. Now, I've always heard this from the guru space. I believe it in a sense that it's true. If you don't want to pay for something, how are you ever going to sell something to somebody else? You won't even feel comfortable doing it. So if a person asks me, Tyrus, how much you charge for X, Y, and Z? To say 5,000, 10,000 doesn't hurt me at all because I've paid that type of money to coaches myself.
Yeah.
I've invested that type of money. The podcast that I did with Marquell Russell, the interview that he did with me and kind of sat me down and broke some things out, I flew to Atlanta for that for an hour and flew back. It's an investment.
Of course.
I didn't say, oh, I ain't going down there for just that and I'm not going to put no money. Can we do it virtual? No.
But you have a lot of people that do that though, Tyrus. There's a lot of business owners. They don't go that they don't have that same effort, you know? And that's what I mean. Like I don't mean to cut you off, but Cal and I, we was dealing with one company, phenomenal product. And she was raising capital. And we try to let her know, basically you might want to start doing it this way. She's like, well, no, I don't want to do it that way. I want to do it this way. But she's struggling to make payroll. Struggling. So she want to keep doing what she's doing. Now she got to pay back these investors and they're coming due and she's not making no money. So sometimes people, like you say, they don't want to do it, and it's sad because they think they know what's best a lot of times, and they don't know what's best. But people like you, people like Cal and myself, we're willing to go that extra yard. We're willing to make those phone calls or be on the phone 2 o'clock in the morning in order to get the job done. Sometimes people just don't have that same, initiative,
Yeah, every time I get on a panel now with new entrepreneurs, new businesses, I ask them, and I share a book with them. I ask them to read this book. It's called The Entrepreneurial Leap by Gino Wickman. That book really dives into what it means to be an entrepreneur and business owner. And it gives you the gritty part of it. Like, it tells you that it's not easy, that it is hard, that it is all the pain that you're thinking about. And it really has you think. Like, I've had clients read that book and come back to me and say, if I read that book before I started, I don't know if I would ever start a business. I recommend everybody read that book so you know where you stand.
Yeah.
Another thing I like to say is I ask a question. Are you curious or are you serious? A lot of people are curious about business ownership. A lot of people are curious. That's why they love starting side hustles. It's just enough for me to dip my little toe in and see how it feels. But they're not serious about it. Mm-hmm. And we're not saying that we make all the right decisions. I used to think that people were lying. When they show their bank account and they don't have no money in it. And then 20 years later, they show where they rich, but then they show that back. I'm like, I see it now. Because when you making investments in your business and you burning the candle on both ends, your bank account get real low sometimes.
Yeah.
And it hit that negative sometimes. And you're trying to figure out how you get out of it. I be looking at my bank account and like, whoa, my Lord, what? Is this what it's about?
You that rich?
Shoot. I wish. I'd be looking and trying to figure out how can I put some more zeros in there. Because it'd be on the negative. But I know now that it's all worth it. Because when this investment pays off, all the lessons learned, they say that those who are successful in business are the ones who stay committed. Not because they're smarter, not necessarily because they work harder. It's because they stayed committed to the process. They failed, they got back up. They failed, they got back up. They failed, they got back up. And they never quit. And then after they learned, success came. Richard Branson told, I don't know who he told, I think he's probably said it multiple times, but different people quote him. He said, "You will never make $1 billion if you're not willing to lose 100 million."
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
So for everybody listening, you're not going to get there for free. You're not going to get there. And you have to make a decision to know that I'm willing to invest in myself. Now, in the beginning, absolutely. When you're in the start and grow phase, take advantage of as many resources as possible. But when you get to the scale phase, when you start raising capital with investors, you have to be prepared to pay for the contracts, to pay the attorneys, to pay the CPAs, to pay the professionals that will help you guide your business to the next level. I learned that the hard way with contracts and having, I guess you could call them cheap attorneys, write contracts that don't stand up. And this is where I learned it. And I should have, of course, Sean, you said that you always need to listen. My first mentor always told me, don't use an attorney who won't litigate the contract they write for you.
Yeah.
Either them or somebody in their firm. But there are a lot of document lawyers out there that will not go to court with that contract.
Yeah.
To me, maybe it's a red flag, maybe not. But I asked that question. You write this contract for me or you review this document for me, will you go to court with me and litigate? If they tell me no, I don't want it from them. I need to go to a firm or attorney that's going to stand up and defend what they put on the paper because I can't do it.
Yeah. When we bought our shell, and a lot of people don't realize it, but a shell is just a folder. It's a folder with all the information, all the paperwork, all the documents in there. The keys are all up to par. And I remember I gave it to this attorney, and basically he reviewed it. $10,000 for about 15 minutes.
He was flipping the pages.
$10,000 for 15 minutes. And I said, basically, this is good to go? He said, yep, you got a good one here. I sit up there, signed the check, said, thank you. Scratching my head. I'm like, I have never spent $10,000 in 15 minutes. Guess what? Best 10,000 we ever spent.
I guess that goes back to Master P when he always talking about his story in the music. Starting out, he wanted to know how Michael Jackson got that deal. Michael Jackson attorney told him 25,000 to have a conversation.
Yeah.
And he had to go take the last of what he had to have the conversation for him just to tell him, well, this is how you do it, this is how you do it, and you're gonna need another 350,000.
Wow.
And guess what? That's the same thing. Because then after that, we took the basically the file, which was the company that was the publicly traded entity, and then we turned around and we went to the SEC attorney and we said, okay, good. I said, and he's the one that sold it to us. I said, would you represent this company you just sold us to? He said, yeah. I said, oh, great. You're our attorney. Because he said he would represent the company that we just bought from him. That made us know that this is a good, and we already checked it. So we couldn't do it because we weren't no SEC attorneys. So we
Right.
knew that it was good to go. But he said, yeah, I would represent this company. Great. You're our attorney. Real easy decision. Now think about if he had said, well, I don't think I'm going to really represent this.
No.
But
Right.
it gave you a different
Going
feeling.
out to each other, what do you think we would have did? What you think, Sean?
Yeah, it would have gave you a different feeling. All right, good people. We've been here about an hour. What we want to do, and we told you last week, so everything's ready now. Our live virtual event, March 25th through 28th,
Looking
build
forward
to
it.
sell challenge.com. Go to build to sell challenge.com. We have a free tier for your free people. Now, for the free people, there's a free tier. So come in and just get the information. Over 4 days, we're going to walk you through exactly what it says here, how to build to sell. So that's how to start, how to grow, how to scale, how to raise capital, and how to position your business for exit. So when you come in, you will walk away with the blueprint of a 7, 8, 9-figure business. Now, that doesn't mean that you go out there with the blueprint and it's going to work overnight. This means you will have the information that you need in order to build your business to sell it. And it's challenged because we want you to do the homework. After every day, we're going to give you a little bit of homework. And we want you to come back with that completed homework. And for our VIP and our VIP Platinum, we're going to go through your homework on the second hour of the call to make sure that your business is positioned in the right way. So go to the site, grab your tickets. We virtual. So we ain't going to sell out. We'll bring as many people in the house as possible. But we're going to bring a lot of people. I'm working on some great partnerships with some state agencies, some economic development centers. So we're looking at bringing a powerhouse behind us. We do have sponsorship spaces. So if you want to sponsor and present, email us at info@legacywcg.com. info@legacywcg.com. And then we could talk a little bit about what sponsorship looks like. We hope to see you in the building or the virtual room, because that is a space where we're going to take and just deep dive a lot of the concepts we talk about here that we give a highlight. We're going to go much deeper. So join us. Kyle, Sean, any last things before we get out of here?
Yeah, I just again want to thank everybody for attending. And I know some of this stuff might be confusing, but come back each week. Same time each week, and it'll get clearer. None of us knew this stuff overnight, but eventually it started to the lingo. You start to understand the lingo, and it catches on. So, thank you guys for coming. God bless you guys.
Yes, I want to thank you guys for coming and being on here and enjoying this with us. And I just want you guys to understand, I know you're probably baffled by the wisdom that we display on you because of my young looks. But I'm really not that young. So basically, we enjoy seeing you each and every week. And we look forward to seeing you at the live event. What's up, Brandon? Good job,
Brandon,
my
what's
brother.
up, bro?
All right, good people. And with that, we going to get out of here because now he on here talking about his good looks. Come to the event. I'm going to show it one more time really, really quick. We really want you in the building. We're starting a movement. There are different people out there that have their own movements, and that's great. We want to start a movement that brings everybody along and takes you to a place that other people just aren't talking about. We really want to get you in a space and in a world that we haven't traditionally had access to. So join us. We're going to be unveiling new programs at this event. We're going to be unveiling as we take our own company public. I just sent a partner of ours information today. We are in the process of opening up our own raise to take our own company public. So the things that we're telling you here, we're not just trying to sell you another course, and we're not doing anything ourselves. You're going to walk with us while we do this, and you're going to see. And then we're going to make a decision. You're going to jump on, let us help you. You can support us, or you'll do what you've been doing for the last 30 years and saying that, hey, I don't know why everybody else is successful and I'm stuck. But it's your decision. Have a great night, and we will see you all next week.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye now.